week. I wanted to jump on real quick. I was working with a client this morning, and we had a really good conversation around the level of intensity that we have to bring into an organization. And so we had a really cool conversation about the importance of a leader setting the pace and setting the tone. And so as I left that call, it got me thinking about, okay, a leader is very much the pace car. If you think about, any type of race, you've got a leader who is kind of like that pace car. They can either push the pace from ahead or they can push that pace from behind. But additionally, that the track, whatever course you're running, that's kind of the strategy. That's how people know what guidelines and what expectations they need to fit within so that they know how to perform and how to perform well. So you've got the leader, you've got the pace car, and then you've got the course or the track that allows people to actually execute on the strategy. So there's a couple different ways that you as the leader are really pushing the pace for. Number one is the standard of excellence. Certainly, you know that when you walk through the doors of your business, that everybody's looking at you. Everybody's listening to what you say and how you say it. They're looking at the work that you do, and whether it's good or bad, they're judging you for it, right? So your standard of excellence is really the standard of excellence that the people around you will adopt and will probably either strive for or downshift to match, right? They also look to you to set the pace on what type of behavior is acceptable. We've all had that boss who we see them come in and they kind of are all over the place. They're not really super focused on their work. Maybe they're, playing with the Nerf basketball hoop a little bit longer than maybe you would expect. So that's an area where you as a leader, you set the pace for the kind of behavior that's acceptable within your organization and on your team. You're also responsible to set the pace for morale. The attitude that happens within your organization, within your team, it starts with you. You are the tip of the spear. I remember at one point in my career, I was not in a place where I was just hitting on all cylinders. And I remember trying to correct an employee and encourage him to work harder, to do better, to perform better. And he just kind of looked at me and he was like, what you're saying is totally true. I need to do a better job. But you're the tip of the spear and you're not doing a good job. And at that point in my career, didn't like hearing that, but it was totally true. I had found myself in a rut and I needed to pull out, and I needed to have somebody who was in a position to be able to give me that feedback. So I recognized that I had set the pace for kind of the morale, the attitude that was going on there. You're also the pace car for how people respond to mistakes and dropped balls. If you're the boss and you're the executive who just expects perfection and has zero tolerance for any mistakes, any errors, then that is going to trickle through your organization. You're going to set a tone that people don't accept or own or acknowledge their mistakes. And that doesn't mean mistakes won't happen. It doesn't mean that you'll get perfection. What it means is that you'll have people covering it up. You'll have people pointing fingers, placing blame, and you'll have people probably lying about it. So you, as the head, the pace car, you've got to set that pace on how do we respond with mistakes and drop balls. You also set the pace on how to deal with ambiguity. Name an organization, name an industry that is stable, predictable, and is a sure thing for the next 10 to 15 years. You can't do it because there isn't one. I remember when I got into consulting, and I remember working with an oil company who at the time, you would think that oil was a industry that would have zero problems. And this particular company had just laid off 20,000 employees across 6 months. So there's not an industry that's totally safe. So how you deal with ambiguity of not knowing, what's going to happen in the marketplace or doing your best to navigate all that, you will again set that pace for the people in your organization. So here's 3 things that you can do to really establish kind of the right pace within your organization. Number 1, communicate the vision for your company. A part of that really is making sure that your leadership team is also good at communicating and articulating that vision. And maybe more importantly, where people are in each department and how they fit within that vision. Because people, and research validates this, people need to know how their work is contributing to the overall objective, the overall vision of the company. The second thing is you can position others to take the lead. And as needed, you can kind of push them from behind. You can leverage their strengths and their talents and their skills. Just because you're the pace car doesn't mean that you're out front the whole time. You find those opportunities to help other people excel, help other people get out in front. But what you don't do is pull off into the pits and let them just kind of lose momentum going around the track. You've got to be out there making sure that you're right there with them, pushing, leading, whatever it might be. Number 3 is take ownership in your role when things fall short. Ultimately, you've got to provide correction. You've got to provide training when there is problems, but always, always, always take your share of the responsibility. Take your, really own your responsibility in some of the challenges and errors and missteps that happen. Again, provide correction, provide training, provide support that helps people get better at what they do so that those things don't happen again. But if you're the leader, then you've got to own a big part of that. You've got to talk about where you could have done something differently, what support you could have added or provided at maybe a different time or earlier time to help things go right. So those are 3 ways I think you can push the pace in your organization. Remember, you're the pace car. That track, that course, that's the strategy. And quite honestly, you know as well as I do that if you don't have a strategy, if you don't have the clarity of that track and that course, well, then my friends, all you have is a demolition derby. So nobody wants that in their organization. It's fun to watch from the stands, but it's not fun to be right in the middle. So hope this is helpful for you. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you took something away, and hopefully you'll be able to push that pace a little bit more today and the rest of this week as you continue on. Thanks for listening.